Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. This past Thursday, February 23rd, 2017, the mainstream media put out the following headline: Witches plan to cast mass spell against Donald Trump. I want to talk briefly about this headline, and then I want to talk about the Wizard of Oz. A lot of us, when we think of witches, we probably get the face of the actress who played the Wicked Witch of the West and The Wizard of Oz. So many of us grew up on that film, and for so many of us, that face is implanted in our minds. One of my oldest videos is about The Wizard of Oz. I'm going to link that video in the description. For those of you who don't like swearing in my videos, there's no swearing in this video. It's a nice, clean presentation. That video is from a couple of years ago. In this video, I'm going to give you new information. There's a lot more I know now. I want to share it with you, but let's start here with this past Thursday's headline. It was the Huffington Post that first put out the news, if I'm not mistaken. A few other mainstream outlets followed suit. What's interesting about the headline is the phrasing cast, mass spell, and witches. Cast, mass spell has gematria of 33. Just like the word witches, that's both in the English reduction format, also using the alphabetic order, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. The word magic has gematria of 33 also. Important number to Freemasonry, important to Zionism. It is Freemasons and Zionist Jews who run the media by the numbers. It's no coincidence this story came out February 23rd. The Huffington Post, the first publication to break the story on 223, the Huffington Post in gematria sums to 223, just like the Synagogue of Satan, the name for the false Jews who are said to rule in the end times. Masonic also has gematria of 223, again, special number of Freemasonry and Zionism. Masonry and secrecy also have the gematria of 33. The book The Wizard of Oz, which has a lot to do with witches and magic and lawyers and lawsuits. The book in history came out May 17th, 1900. The publication date of The Wizard of Oz. Became a movie in 1939, became a book in 1900. May 17th, the date it was published, is the 137th day of the year, which is the 33rd prime number, bringing us right back to 33. It's also the day that leaves 228 days left in the year. In simple English gematria, United States of America equals 228. The Wizard of Oz, many parallels to the United States of America. I want you to notice that Oz sums to 41 using the alphabetic order, just like USA. Did you notice that Oz in reverse is 13. 41 is the 13th prime number, 13 stripes, 13 colonies, 13 years of public school programming. Anyhow, Wizard of Oz came out on a very fitting date bringing us back to 33. The date numerology of May 17th, 1900, the date it was published, was a date with 41 numerology. USA 41, Oz 41, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Again, 41's the 13th prime. The author of the book, L. Frank Baum, published May 17th, 1900. The name L. Frank Baum, a contrived name, has gematria of 99, just like when you write out 13. Remember, the Bavarian Illuminati was established May 1st, 1776. 5 plus 1 plus 17 plus 76 equals 99. It was established with 13 families on that date. So 99 connects back to 13, which connects to Freemasonry. The Bavarian Illuminati, the Masonic network, established just before the American Revolution, credited with the French Revolution. History by the numbers. So the Wicked Witch. In the original film, it's black and white. But once they made the film in Technicolor, which people from my generation grew up on, I was born in '83. Those of us who saw it in that era, we saw the green Wicked Witch. And of course, in The Wizard of Oz, it's the Emerald City, the green city where the wizard lives. In the book, Dorothy, the main character, she walks the gold road to the Emerald City, and she walks it in silver slippers. She has magical silver slippers in the book. In the movie, they turn them to red slippers. And I talked about why in the video I put out years ago. The reason why is to make the symbolism less obvious for people watching the movie. Gold and silver, they represent money, banking. And what The Wizard of Oz is a story about how the world is ruled by banker tyrants. And to defeat those banker tyrants, all it would take from the people are a little bit of brains, heart, and courage. You know, things that are missing in the masses. So The Wizard of Oz, it's more than fiction. It was truly a mocking of the people who are ruled over by the gang of Freemasons and Zionist banker tyrants. Just like the majority of Hollywood and story classics are. So many books that are considered to be the greats, they're the ones that mock us the most. Talk more about that. So anyway, making the Wicked Witch green, color of money. Green has Jewish gematria of 137. Of course, international banking run by Jewish Zionists. 137 is the 33rd prime number, just like how the book came out on the 137th day of the year. Special number here, 137. Authority equals 137. Washington, D.C. equals 137. 137, the 33rd prime. Federal equals 33, like Masonry, like secrecy. We're talking about a nation established by Freemasons. Again, 33 also connects to witches. And cast mass spell and magic. So the Wicked Witch of the West, one of the main characters in the book, in the film, she has very interesting name gematria, which we'll get to. I want to talk about the appropriate title of the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz sums to 102 in reverse reduction gematria, just like United States of America sums to 102 in reduction gematria, where S is 10. 102, special number to this history of this nation. United States of America equals 102. The war to save the nation, the Civil War, began on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th. Slavery equals 102. In The Wizard of Oz, the lion, when he gains his courage, he sings the song about how all it takes to make a slave a king is courage. And for the record, the word king has gematria of 41 using the alphabetic order, just like Oz. Just show it to you real quick. King, alphabetic order 41, like Oz, like USA. All it takes to make a slave a king is a little bit of courage. And I'll tell you what, Truth Seeker, I don't know if it's from watching that movie, but I've had that idea in my head since I was a little kid. You know, as a little kid, I learned to not respect authority. I learned to say F you at a young age because I realized all the authority around me were mostly the same. Assholes who didn't know what they were talking about. By the time I was 7, I was a lot sharper than most of the adults around me, and I just saw. I saw it was a nation of bullshit, authority, people who wanted to control others. And I just thought, I'm no slave. I had these thoughts in my head since I was a child, and I wish more people had them in their head because if more people in this world were like me, guess what? We wouldn't be ruled over by tyrants, you see? It's the fact that people have no brains, no heart, and no courage that makes them all slaves in the land of Oz. The word magic in reverse ordinal is also 102. On the topic of witches, Hillary Clinton began her campaign on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th. Notice how Clinton has the 33102 like magic. Interesting. So The Wizard of Oz came out as a film in 1939. 39, very special number. 39 books in the Old Testament, which the Jewish faith goes by, who's run Hollywood and this nation and the media since the beginning. Talk more about that. I love that they give it an 8.1. I love that they give it an 8.1 because wizard equals 81. This happens all the time with these movie ratings. The people who create this stuff, very aware of gematria. So many movie ratings are coded with what the title of the film's about. The film is 102 minutes. 102 minutes. We just talked about 102. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. United States of America, Magic. 102-minute film. It came out on August 25th, which is the 237th day of the year. For movies, that's the door number in The Shining. If you've seen the documentary breaking down that number, they point out how 2 times 3 times 7, all prime numbers, sums to 42. We're going to be talking about 42 in this film. Dorothy equals 42, Scarecrow equals 42, and a whole lot more. We'll also be talking in a moment about the death of Judy Garland, how she died by the numbers, connected to famous scene in this film. But anyway, The Wizard of Oz, 102 minutes. What this makes me think of, in light of the 41, is this. September 11th, 2001. A major planned date. Planned many years in advance. 33 years before 2001 was 1968. That's the year World Trade Center construction began. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. George Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones. False flag equals 33. 33 years later, September 11th would happen, bringing 911 and the World Trade Centers together. The date of the attack, 9/11/2001, was a date with 41 numerology. Al-Qaeda equals 41 using the alphabetic order. Al-Qaeda equals 102 in Jewish gematria. Saudi Arabia also sums to 41 using English reduction. The hijacker is said to be from Saudi Arabia, the U.S. ally. They said that attack that day was 102 minutes. Look at the numbers, 41, 102. Think about what The Wizard of Oz is about. A nation of people ruled over by tricks, witches, smoke, fire, explosions, people who are scared, people who work from behind screens for an agenda. Think about 9/11 in light of what The Wizard of Oz teaches us. If you've never seen my work on 9/11, there's a whole lot more. The title Wicked Witch of the West, one of the main characters in the film, has gematria of 239. This is a special number to the Jewish faith. Torah equals 239. Golden Gate equals 239. They believe their Messiah will arrive through the Golden Gate. The flag, the U.S. flag, was sewn at 239 Arch Street in Philadelphia. The flag turned 239 years old. This past year, 2016, the flag was established June 14th, 1777, a date with 33 numerology. Turned 239 on Donald Trump's birthday. He shares the Flag Day birthday. 239 is also the 52nd prime number, very relevant to government and authority, the figures that rule over us. Again, that's what The Wizard of Oz is about. Real quick, I just want you to know that witch and broom, look at them in gematria. They are perfect matches. Witch and broom. Witch and broom. Part of the storyline in Wizard of Oz. So real quick, we're going to go more to the Wizard of Oz. We're just taking a quick break. The Donald Trump headlines about witches wanting to cast mass spells on him. The article, it talks about to watch out for these dates: March 26th, April 24th, and May 23rd. And for anyone who's been following my work, I think that the date that stands out to you is May 23rd. I said more than a year ago, something's being foreshadowed for Donald Trump in May 23rd. And I said I wasn't sure if it was 2016 or it might be a future year. This number 523, kind of like May 23rd, is the 99th prime number. We just talked about 99 and 13 and L. Frank Baum. 523, the 99th prime number. There's been a lot of predictive programming for something with Donald Trump and May 23rd. It's amazing that, it's mentioned in this article. The article about casting spells. This year, that'll be a date with 45 numerology. Trump, the 45th president. Remember, Berlin Wall equals 45. He was announced as the president on the anniversary of the fall of the wall. This is what magic and casting spells really is in this world. Doing things by the numbers, having a language based on numbers, having a calendar system that's based on a special number set people don't realize. This is what the real magic is in this world. The real witches are the Jewish Zionists, the Freemasons, at the top running the show. So check this out. If you watch the film The Wizard of Oz, this is the way it begins. For nearly 40 years, this story has given faithful service to the young in heart, and time has been powerless to put its kindly philosophy out of fashion. To those of you who have been faithful to it in return, and to the young in heart, we dedicate this picture. So remember, the book came out May 1900. The film came out August 1939. So not quite 40 years. For nearly 40 years. Here's where 39 and 40 come together and why this was done on purpose. United States in gematria, the reduction method sums to 40, just like Old Testament. The Old Testament is the first 39 books of the Bible that the Jewish faith goes by. This entire nation was created based on the Bible. My oldest work, The Nation and Revelation, go back and check it out. In the Old Testament, there are 39 books, 39 and 40. In Jewish gematria, United States of America sums to 929. There are 929 chapters in the Old Testament. Remember, Jewish equals 74, Masonic equals 74, Holiday equals 74, Independence Day equals 74, Gematria 74, English 74, Alphabetic Order 74, the birthday for the United States 7-4. Or 4-7, we'll talk about 47. Judy Garland died at 47. But just understand, this is what it is. The United States of America is a Jewish Zionist nation run by people who hate everyone else. Learn about the Talmud and what the Jewish people really think about those who they rule over, who they govern over. They think that the existence of non-Jews, they think they have one purpose: to work to support the Jewish people so they don't have to work. That is their religious, spiritual belief. And that's what you see all throughout this world. Working slaves who have nothing to show for themselves, a rich investor class who've never had to lift a finger in their life, and this slave class, for the most part, I don't feel sorry for them at all, because almost everyone in the slave class is just what the Jewish people think of them. Stupid, ignorant, gullible, easily manipulated, easily taken advantage of. And if you read what the Jewish people think, they think, the Goy are meant to be treated like shit because they like it. They don't complain. It's okay to them. They're lessers. And look at America. I mean, did I not just describe the nation? A nation of working slaves, morons, people who don't care about anything. All they want to do is just watch the ball game. That's enough. It's hard for me to, be... I see how horrible the tyrants are, but it's at the same time, it's almost like, well, they created this world this way, and the Goy of this world, they all appreciate it, and, they hate people like me who spell it out for them, so I almost feel like maybe I should just let these Jewish Zionist tyrants be alone and just keep doing their thing. The goy love it. Seems that they got it all worked out perfect. But of course, there's people such as you and myself who don't like it at all and who are trying to fight back. But are there enough of us? Let's continue on. So the way the film begins is Dorothy, she's heading back home. She just had this incident with the meanest, richest lady in town who has a big Jew snosh. She just had this incident where her little dog bit the lady, and now the lady's saying she's going to have the dog destroyed, so she's running home to tell her family. When she gets home to tell her family, nobody has any time to listen to her. For any of us who've been a child, it's a reminder of this world. That was my childhood. 2 parents who didn't have any time to listen to anything I had to say. What'd you say? Maybe you need to go up to your room. And, that's what it is in America. A lot of working slaves who procreate when they shouldn't. You're looking at it right here. My parents had me as an accident. It's the only reason that brought them together. But it's just what it is in America. As a child, you hardly see your parents, the adults around you. They don't have time for you. They don't take you seriously. That's what happens in the beginning of this. Dorothy's supposed to be 13 in the movie. I think she was 16 when she played the role. When you write out 16 as a word, it sums to 33. Only 2 numbers do that, 16 and 90. But anyway, the film begins that way. She wants to come home and talk to her family, the people who work on her farm. Nobody has time for her, so she begins to sing the song. Wizard of Oz is a musical. Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And look at the gematria Somewhere Over the Rainbow. 119, those special numbers to the Zionist Jews. September 11th, and a million other things. All seeing I equals 119, Star of David, Master Plan. USA even equals 119 with Francis Bacon gematria. That's where the capital letters have special properties. Just show you this about USA real quick in 119 in Francis Bacon. All right, so Dorothy sings Over the Rainbow. Moments after that, the old rich lady with the massive nose shows up at their farm, and she says, "You will give me your dog, because I am going to destroy your dog. It's going to be killed for biting me earlier. If not, I'm going to sue your family and take away everything you own." So this woman comes and threatens with the courts and the legal system. Give me your dog or I will destroy you. And, for all of you who live in this nation and think that the courts are just and fair, well, that's just the perspective of a goy, isn't it? Your whole system is corruption. Think about how judges wear witches' gowns. It's not a coincidence. The black gown is supposed to be the witch. It's a nation of uniforms and costumes. I want to teach you something about uniform and costume real quick. Notice the gematria of uniform, 4296, number of the Freemasons. Notice the gematria of costume, with the S exception, costumes also 33. Think about that on Halloween and witches. But this is what it is. Freemasonry has created this nation as we know it. They know that uniforms and costumes have a psychological impact on people. You put the judge in the witch's gown. Judge 47, obey 47, gavel 47, authority 47. Talk about Judy Garland dying at 47 in just a moment. But this woman who comes and threatens with the courts, she's the one who once, Dorothy goes to the next world, she sees this woman as the Green Witch, the same actress. The woman who's threatening with the courts becomes the witch. And, oh, by the way, lawyer has gematria of 33, and with the S exception, so does lawsuit. You see? Lawyer, lawsuit. So here in this scene, there's a little fight over the dog. The woman's demanding she put the dog in the basket. Dorothy really doesn't want to do it. She pleads with her grandmother, Aunt M. Aunt M. Her name's Aunt M, by the way. What is M? M's the 13th letter, just like how Oz is 13 in reverse. All of these methods are based on the alphabetic order, all interrelated. So Aunt Em ends up telling her to put the dog in the basket. The grandfather does it. Or is it the aunt and uncle? Doesn't matter. Anyway, dog gets put in the basket. Right after the woman leaves with the dog, she puts the basket on the back of her bicycle, and the dog's Toto. She doesn't realize Toto jumps out of the basket, runs back home. Dorothy gets the dog and says, "Oh my God, we got to run away from here before she comes back and has you destroyed." So Dorothy leaves the home. Along the way, she runs into a psychic. He looks into the crystal ball. There's a lot of crystal ball and fortune telling in this film. And he sees that Aunt Em is sick and dying. So she gets worried, Dorothy, and she runs home. You know, she was going to run away to save her dog, but now she finds out Aunt Em's dying, so she wants to go back and take care of Aunt Em. On the way home, there's a massive storm happening, a tornado. Aunt Em's looking for Dorothy. Dorothy's not to be found. When Dorothy gets back, everybody's already in the storm cellar. She can't find anyone. She tries to go into her house. As she goes into her house, the window's blowing out. It smashes into her head and knocks her out. And when she awakes, she's in a magical land. She's in the land of Oz. And if you haven't seen the film, she travels, it's kind of a dream state. She travels from, by the way, dream equals 41, like Oz, like USA, the American dream. Anyway, in her dream, she travels in her house. Her house lands in this land. And what she doesn't realize at first is her house has landed on the Wicked Witch of the East. So when she gets to Oz, she's killed the Wicked Witch of the East unknowingly. And the people who live here are called Munchkins. Munchkin equals 39, like the release year of the film. The little people, the insignificant people. So in Munchkin Land, Dorothy's the hero. Dorothy's the hero for killing the Wicked Witch of the East. The Good Witch shows up to greet her. Bunch of different midgets or munchkins come and perform for Dorothy. Oh. When you watch these movies and you really think about what they're showing you, you just see how they're truly mocking we the people. But at the end of the celebration, the Wicked Witch of the West shows up in a poof of fire and smoke. It turns out the Wicked Witch of the West has no power in this land, but her sister is the Wicked Witch of the East, and that's why she's shown up. She heard her sister's dead. So she comes, she checks it out. She sees the dead sister under the house with the red slippers. Remember in the book, they're silver slippers. The red shoes quickly disappear, and the Good Witch makes them appear on Dorothy's feet. And around this point in the film, Dorothy learns that there's such a thing as good witches. You know what's funny? In my real life, I'm getting letters in the mail, most of them anonymous. Somebody's even started sending me anonymous letters saying that they're casting good magical spells to protect me. They're not giving me their address, but they keep sending me these letters with good magical spells. Anyway, Dorothy has this good witch protecting her. She puts the red slippers on her, which in the book are silver. Can't emphasize it enough. It says we find out the only way the slippers can be removed are by her death. And this witch wants the red slippers because apparently they're going to make her more powerful. So here's the Wicked Witch disappearing. And I was just thinking in 1939 when this came out, you know, this big like fireball explosion. This is just as the Manhattan Project was getting underway. The headlines weren't too far off, just years away from the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I really do think this is an element of predictive programming here. This fiery explosion when the witch appears and disappears. So Dorothy starts out her journey on the Gold Road off to the Emerald City. She wants to go there because the Good Witch told her there's a wizard there who can get you back to Kansas. Dorothy's from Kansas. She doesn't know how she got to this magical land, but she wants to go home. So she sets out on this journey to see the Wizard of Oz, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And here she's singing about it, skipping along. Not long after she meets the Scarecrow, the first person she meets on the journey. And she realizes this is a special Scarecrow, a talking Scarecrow. And Scarecrow and Dorothy in Gematria both happen to sum to 42. English reduction. Just show you real quick. Scarecrow, 42. Dorothy, 42. Get rid of some of these methods so it seems less cluttery. What I love about when she meets the Scarecrow is the opening dialogue is she's like, "What? How can you talk?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not very smart, but I can talk." Doesn't that line remind you of America? That's what America is to me. That's what I prefer being a loner than being around most Americans, because most Americans they make me want to pull my hair out with how stupid they are. They don't know how to listen. They just know how to babble on about nothing that even matters. I mean, this is almost everyone I know. Just people that babble on about jack shit, have no listening ability. Like you say something to them and then they respond with something what was already on their mind. Have you guys noticed that about so many Americans? It's like they have no ability to listen or respond to what was just said. They just want to rattle on about what's already in their head. I would say that's the majority of the population. So anyway, when the Scarecrow makes that comment about how he's pretty dumb but he knows how to talk, it's just like, yeah, that's America. Really dumb people who just talk endlessly. My mother's from this generation, and I know a lot of women from this generation are just rattleboxes. Like, I'm describing my mom. My mom has no listening ability for anyone. Just when people talk to her, she cannot respond to anything they just said, but she will instantly just start blabbing on about whatever's going through her brain. It's like, what? Nobody's talking about that. But anyway, this doesn't go on in America for a long time. The Scarecrow's opening line, this movie is about us, the people who live here. People without brains, without hearts, without courage. Also, with regards to 42 and rainbows, a major theme of this film, it's 42 degrees, that angle that makes a rainbow visible, by the way. Just a little side note there on 42. So Dorothy and the Scarecrow are on the path. The witch is watching them. Then they run into the Tin Man. The Tin Man has no heart. He's a little rusty. So they oil up the Tin Man, and she tells them, she's telling these guys, come with me to the land of Oz, the Wizard of Oz. He can give you a brain. He can give you a heart. He can help me get back to Kansas. Then along the way, they run into the lion. And the lion comes out and he's roaring and he's trying to scare them. But then he admits that he's just a coward. He just likes to pick on people. He really doesn't have any courage. And they say, oh, well, you should come along and the wizard will give you some courage. So that's the order it happens in. The brain, the heart, the courage. Dorothy leading the way. I love this part right here. The witch is looking through her crystal ball, and she sees them traveling, and she sees them getting close to the wizard. So she goes, how can I stop their journey? How can I ruin this? How can I keep them from getting to the wizard and their wishes? And what she says is, I know, I'll put them to sleep with the poppies. Think about how poppies are used to make heroin and drugs and things that pacify people. She's going to put them to sleep with the poppies. We were talking about 33 and magic. Do you remember what year Prohibition ended? In 33. It actually ended on a date with 33 numerology. That year, beer and liquor went on sale for the first time on April 7th, 4/7. Alcohol 33, Prohibition over in 33. Here the witch says, I'll put them to sleep with the poppies. Poppies sums to 42, just like heroin, just like Dorothy, just like Scarecrow. So here they are. They're traveling to the Emerald City. The Gold Road is interrupted by the poppy fields along the way. So they have to cross the poppies. If you take the singular of poppy, it sums to 47. Judy Garland, who plays Dorothy, would reportedly die from a drug overdose at age 47. What else this made me think about, in light of it being the Emerald City, is that in real life, the Emerald City is Seattle, which is on the 47th parallel. Seattle, significant city, connected to a lot of important history. The firm that built the World Trade Centers, which came down on 9/11, located in Seattle, plus a whole lot more. I just find this so interesting. Perhaps there'll be some future event in the city of Seattle, and we'll see the greater parallel. I've theorized that for a long time. Seattle is a ripe city for a false flag. Seattle and Manhattan, two cities that share gematria. Anyway, Emerald City, they got to cross the poppies. Seattle on the 47th parallel, Poppy 47, Judy Garland dead from a drug overdose at age 47. Seattle, a rock star city. A lot of rock stars dead from drug overdoses in Seattle. Rock equals 47. So anyway, here's Judy Garland. She falls asleep in the poppy fields. I guarantee you when she died, she was murdered, given a hot dose, purposefully injected with too much. The powers that be, the Zionist Jews, the Freemasons, they love to kill their celebrities by the numbers. Judy Garland, dead at 47. Drug overdose, barbiturates. Notice she also died on June 22nd. Can be written 22/6, a lot like 226, our number that connects to Saturn and time and the planets and astrology. 22693, numbers we talk about a lot. The word time also has gematria 47. Saturn connects to 226. Saturn, the keeper of time. Judgment, the grim reaper, the scythe. All of that comes back to Saturn. In reduction gematria, Judy Garland also has the same gematria, barbiturate, what they said killed her. Barbiturate has the 81 connection like wizard. So anyhow, in this scene, they fall asleep here. The lion falls asleep. Dorothy falls asleep. The Tin Man, the people without a brain and without a heart, they're not impacted by this. But the good witch sees it going on, and she makes it snow, and the coldness of the snow brings the lion and Dorothy back, and they continue on with their journey. The wicked witch is so angry. So here they are back on the Gold Road. Gold and silver. They give you some special effects here. The witch flying around on her broom. Covered that. Here they are showing up at the Emerald City. They have this man greet them, who tells them that, you know what? It's nice that you journeyed here, but no one can meet the wizard. So they're disappointed. Then she makes the point about the slippers, the red slippers, the death of the Wicked Witch of the East. And he says, oh, well, in that case, you can come on in. So they make it in the city. We have these horses changing color, which reminds me of Revelation, the Bible, the horses of different colors. I'm sure there's some greater riddle there. Shows what life is like in Oz. The witch is in the sky writing, surrender, Dorothy. Which happens to have that gematria of 227, bringing us back to pi and cycles and circles. This man who greeted them at the door, he plays like the chief assistant to the wizard. He tells the people about the significance of the arrival of these visitors. The lion is finding his courage. He gives his speech here about how all it takes to make a slave a king is a little bit of courage. Here again, this man, he's touched because Dorothy is pleading with why she needs to meet the wizard. So he says, okay, fine, fine. You can meet the wizard. You're special. So they get back here, and this is talking to the wizard. The wizard is this hologram with a smoke and fire machine. You know, think about screens. The Wizard of Oz is about a man communicating through this technology, this powerful technology that intimidates the people. Think about how screens are used in this world to intimidate people. There's a book, 1984, written after World War II about how people are ruled over by screens. So anyway, the man with all the fire and smoke, he says, if you want me to grant you any wishes, you need to kill the wicked witch of the West. I want her broom. And it's a very angry request. It's so angry, the lion who was just singing about courage runs out of there, screaming for the hills. So going back to find the wicked witch, they get bombarded by the witch's minions. They tear apart the scarecrow. They fly off with Dorothy. They bring her back to the witch. The witch tells her that she's going to kill her in a special ritual. She says killing can't just be done anyway. It has to be done. There's rules to it. So she puts on her timer, and she says, when that timer ends, your life will be taken, and I will take your red slippers. So anyway, Toto, her dog, escapes, runs back, finds her helpers, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion, and leads them back to Dorothy. So they come to rescue Dorothy. The Wicked Witch is not pleased. She sets the Scarecrow on fire. He just got torn apart. The man who wanted brains gets torn apart, gets put back together, then he gets set on fire. Dorothy, when the Scarecrow gets set on fire, takes a bucket of water, which is just right there at her side so conveniently, throws it on the Scarecrow, and it puts the Scarecrow out, plus it hits the witch. And when the water hits the witch, she screams, I'm melting, the famous scene, down into nothing. So then they take her broom, they take it back to the wizard. The wizard is revealed in this scene. They're watching the smoke and fire, showing the broom. Meanwhile, Toto wanders off over to the side, and Toto reveals what's behind the curtain. The man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, the man using the smoke and fire machine. When he realizes he's exposed, he doesn't know how to react. He continues to act as if nobody can see him, but then eventually he realizes the gig is up. He tries to pull the curtain back, but it's too late. Dorothy comes over and confronts him, and then he's like, all right, you got me. Let me give you your requests. So for the Scarecrow, for brains, instead of giving him brains, he tells him that, you know what, instead just have a diploma. This is what would have happened if you went to school and got a degree. You'd get this piece of paper, and that shows you have brains. And, think about that. That's what so many people in this world are programmed to think intelligence is. My parents were shining examples. My mom thought the only thing that was a sign of intelligence was an A on a report card. And you know what? I got straight A's all through school my whole life to impress my mother, who was never impressed by it. All my mother ever said is, well, good job. Now make sure you get straight A's next time too. So anyway, in truth, the education system, diplomas, A's, none of this stuff means anything. This isn't a sign of brains. This is a sign of who can go to school, who can follow authority, who can circle the right answers on the test, which are mostly all bullshit. Did you circle C for Christopher Columbus discovered America? Well, good job, Johnny. You just got an A. And I mean, really, that's what the American education is. Jumping through a bunch of hoops, learning a bunch of lies, being socialized, and then getting a piece of paper. And then so many employers will say, oh, you got your piece of paper, I'll give you a job here. So anyway, brains are a piece of paper in The Wizard of Oz. Then for courage, what do they give the lion? They give him a medal, like you get in the military. You get medals for being a mercenary for the New World Order killing machine. You know, the lion gets his big medal here. Now he has courage. And the Tin Man, what he gives him is a ticking clock in the shape of a heart. And think about a heart and a clock and ticking. You know, each tick is one less. Think about that, people. It's like that song by Pink Floyd, Time, you know. Before you know it, 10 years have got by you. Think about how many years have gone on since this book came out. We're in 2017, 117. How many years since the movie? 78 years. And nothing's changed. Same gang running the show the same way. All this time, all these ticking clocks, these ticking hearts, and we still haven't found our brains, hearts, or courage as a society. So in the end, the wizard goes off in a hot air balloon, goes off in hot air. Says he doesn't even know how to pilot it. Dorothy had to jump out because Toto jumped out, and then the wizard went off without her. He said he was going to take her back to Kansas. But instead, what happens is the good witch shows up and tells her that all she has to do is click her heels together 3 times and think about Kansas, and she'll be home. You get this black and white, you know, like you're in a trance, like you're in a hypnosis. But anyway, Oz, USA Dream, 41 the 13th Prime. Next thing you know, she's back in Kansas. In case you've never seen the film, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion are all people that work on Aunt Em's farm. So she wakes up in her bed in Kansas. These 3 people are around her, not in their costumes, but just looking how they normally look on the farm. So is Aunt Em. So is Toto. And then the film ends. Earlier this week, I gave a lesson on octal numbers, the relationships between octal numbers, base 8 and base 10. Notice that in base 8, 41 is 33. 41 and 33. Another connection right there. So there it is. There's the cast. Hunk, Zeke, and Hickory are Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion. And I didn't even check, but hey, let's just do it just for fun. Let's see if there's anything with Hunk, Zeke, or Hickory. Hunk, 18, the reflection of 81 for Wizard. Zeke, 47, number of foundation. And Hickory, 44. Well, I think we covered it all, Truth Seeker. Some other notes. This is from what I put out in the video 2 years ago, things I talked about. The director of the film was Victor Fleming. Fleming's a name with 39 gematria, like the year. Victor, 33. Harburg did the music, 39. MGM put out the film, MGM, 33. If you drop the L from Frank Baum is also 33. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all, Truth Seeker. I'll link the old video if you want to watch it. Might be a few extra points in there I forgot. But that's all for now. Until next time, Truth Seeker. Encore, have something important to share with you about Yellow Brick Road, which I overlooked. Notice in English reduction, Yellow Brick Road sums to 74, like Masonic, like Jewish. This is a movie about banker tyrants and how they rule over the brainless, heartless, cowardly masses. Think about the U.S.'s birthday, July 4th, 7/4, Jewish equals 74, Masonic 74, like we talked about. It also has gematria of 173, which is the 40th prime number, United States 40, Old Testament 40, the tribute to 40 at the beginning of the film. Reverse reduction gematria, Jewish in reversed is 88, Jewish banker tyrants. If you don't know the history about banking in this world, who the original bankers were, look up the Knights Templar, Freemasons, the first bankers. What stands out in a huge way is the reverse ordinal gematria of 232. Kansas in Jewish gematria is 232, and so is Satan. The false Jews are known as the synagogue of Satan, 223, like we talked about in the beginning, like Masonic. The date headline of the Trump article, February 23rd, from the Huffington Post. The yellow brick road, one of the most memorable things from the film. The silver slippers on the yellow brick road, and the story mocking the masses about being ruled over by Jewish banker tyrants. Gematria is this people's language. This is how they operate. I want to thank this reader, Elmer Fudd. He pointed out these connections with Kansas and afterlife. You know, there's an interpretation of The Wizard of Oz that Dorothy died in the beginning by not getting into the storm shelter. You know, the tornado was right on top of their farm. She got knocked out with the window in the beginning. And in reality, the house looked like it was about to be torn to shreds by the tornado. And if she's in the house when that happens, you know, you don't live through that. But it's a movie. But many people interpret that Dorothy died in the film. You know, and the ending is just all part of the Hollywood happy ending. But just notice, Satan, Kansas, Afterlife, Second Life, The Lion. This person didn't catch that the yellow brick road was 232, but their post inspired me to catch that. So I'm adding this onto the video as an encore. Again, the point of this video is to understand what's going on in this world, what's been going on, how we're mocked with these movies, with these stories, with these headlines. You know, no witches are really casting spells against Donald Trump, but there are Jewish Zionist witches at all times casting spells to keep the people of this world in a trance so that they can easily be ruled over, so that they can look at the truth and go, huh, how stupid, what a conspiracy theory. What a tinfoil hat. Those are the words that come out of people's mouths when they're confronted with the truth. You know, the characters traveling on the yellow brick road. Brainless, heartless, cowardly. Until next time.